Good morning, class. I wanted to send a little response here about the David Nutt article, a little, critical response from my opinion. Clearly I don't completely hate the article as I assigned it to you. However, I am going to play devil's advocate here and just, be a complete critic. So, and forgive me here, I'm actually sitting in the car line here, about to drop my kids off for school. No phones in the car line. The security just came by. I'll have to be covert. Anyway, I have some mixed feelings about the Nutt article as much as I like it. There are some issues. I think the most egregious to me is, what were the reviewers of this article really thinking? It ended up in The Lancet, which is one of the top medical journals in the world. So, everybody has read this article that's in the biomedical sciences or practices medicine even. It's a very commonly read journal. Most people would have read this article, and it really smacks of politics to me. Like, our big critique about the scheduling criteria is that it's basically a political thing rather than a scientific or medical thing. This is a scientific, or published in a scientific journal. I'll give it that. But that doesn't mean science doesn't get political sometimes. And could this be one of those occasions? Let's look at this. So first, look up David Nutt. Look up the author. Look up his career. His entire career is basically dedicated to, quit trying to photobomb me, kids. His entire career is dedicated to finding and promoting medicinal uses of MDMA and hallucinogen psychedelics, for the treatment of psychiatric disease. And, there are some good studies done for that. And but I do think that Nutt tends to get into sort of more the political, philosophical side of this, really pushing an agenda. So let's look at the empirical science and empirical data in the article. Granted, it definitely sounds like there is some very nice computational stuff that went down in the development of the paper. Exactly what that is, I think, is pretty unclear, having read the article a few times. So at the very least, let's smack the reviewers of this paper on their knuckles a little bit for allowing something that really comes across as more of like a political sounding board than a scientific article. And then two, where's the science? I understand a good bit of computation went into this, but I don't know, it looks like a closed box to me. Like when I look at this article, it seems like a closed box, like I'm not really supposed to know how it works. And, just by the way, the data suggests that MDMA is the safest drug in the world, in addition to psilocybin, which just happen to be the drugs that David Nutt's career and his entire personality is devoted to promoting. If you look into him further, you also know that, he was basically stripped of his positions in Britain for reasons just like this. And, I think that the British government probably overreacted there a little bit, but, he is definitely not one to play it safe. And that's good. We need scientists like that. But at what point are we just sort of taking swipes at the fringes of science? And at what point are we playing politics and just promoting ourselves? It's a good question here, I think, and one to ponder.